Okay guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to discuss my SDE-1 interview experience at upGrad School of Technology. In this video we will be covering all the detailed rounds that I had to go through, the technical rounds, resume screening round, online assessment, and the complete hiring process. So let's start it now. So talking about the process, the first round, not exactly round, but yeah, the first thing that I had to go through was the resume screening round. After that, we had a telephonic round that went almost for like 25 to 30 minutes, discussing some sort of tech stack, some basic problems, some question answers that I will be discussing further. After that, I had an online assessment round, not exactly online assessment, but you can imagine it as an takeaway assignment round where I had given a full stack project from front end, back end to deployment, AWS, everything. And for that, I got a timeline, I believe 4 to 6 days. Then comes the final round, the technical round that lasts for 1 hour and 45 minutes, comprising of 2 consecutive technical rounds. And finally, we had a managerial cum CEO round, the last round where we basically discussed the roles and responsibilities and the future of the company and the employee and the basic detail that a general managerial round is considered for. Okay, now let's talk about the first round. So I saw the job post on LinkedIn and I applied, and I'll be also showing you the resume that I used to apply. So I'll just show you the exact resume that I had back then. So there we go. So it goes from the name, then we have our email, then the GitHub profile, and finally we have the LinkedIn profile. And then a professional summary where I mentioned competitive programmer with 3000 plus GitHub contribution, 250 plus lead code problems, and ranked all of these things. And whatever I felt important, I just made sure that it is bold. Then I mentioned my skills, which consists of programming, code, web development, cloud computing, and tools. Then we had the education, quite important. Next section is for projects. So this is like included the link for the projects. So when you click it, you must make sure that it redirects you to the site. And the best part was this was deployed on domain, and the deployment was we had the projects were good in general. So I'll share you the resume. You can also check the projects, the link, and GitHub, everything is there, so you can go around and check with that. Finally, the most important part, experience. So here I mentioned Zolate remote full stack developer, and I mentioned 3 key points that I felt is important. I mentioned the timeline. The same goes with the next one, front end developer, research commons. Then we go with the final one. Finally, I mentioned few of achievements over here, like Smart India Hackathon winner, rank 1 out of 2,500 student, author 2 patents, and few freelancing experiences. I just try to keep it short initially when I made it because of much more projects and experiences. I had it around 2 pages or 1.8 pages, something around that. So I just try to keep whatever is important in the first page, and then I trimmed it off. So this is the exact same resume that I used to apply, and fortunately it got selected. Now let's discuss on the round 1, which is telephonic round interview, and it lasted around 15 to 20 minutes, at max 25 minutes. I don't exactly remember the timeline. And this was pretty basic round, and it started with questions like what is JavaScript, why do we use it, and what is the difference between let, var, and const. Very pretty basic. What are React hooks, what is conditional rendering, explain with example. And then we had like what are props in React and when to use them. There were, I believe, few more questions, 2-3 more cross questions were there that I exactly don't remember. I believe they've asked me the difference between use state or use state versus use effect or use memo, something like that. And yeah, so this particular round evolves around JavaScript and very basics, like basic concept of React, like a functional component, class component, something like that. It was like of touching the grass from both JavaScript and React. So the interviewer was basically trying to figure out whether I'm good at basics or not. And this round also went good. And after that, I basically received a confirmation message email for the next round, which was an assignment round. That was sort of takeaway assignment where I received all the requirements about the assignment, which basically involves front end, back end of a hangman game. So basically I had to design a hangman game with front end and back end, with a scoring system, leaderboard and everything. And then the good part about that project was it was not only front end and back end, but it also involved AWS deployment and Dockerization of both the containers. So I had an option whether I can use the front end back end different folder structure and Dockerize both of them separately and host it, or I can use basically Next.js as front end and Next API route. I basically choose this Next.js and Next API route because I found it easy to run one container and host it on AWS rather than running it in a different folder. So I completed that, and I submitted this a day before the deadline, the hangman game with the live running link and everything. So I basically had to give them EC2 IP link where I have basically deployed. So I deployed it on my personal AWS account, and then I have given them the link for that. After that, it was like 5 to 7 days of a complete silence. There were no follow-ups. I just tried to contact to the person who reached me out at the first point, and they were like 1 day, 2 days, something like that. And finally, on a very fine day, I received a call that my technical interview is scheduled from evening 3 to 4:20. So it was basically 1 hour and 20-minute long interview. But because of some network issues, it got postponed by, I believe, 1 hour, and the interview ran for 1 hour and 40 minutes. I got a very decent, very nice interviewer. His name is Jay, and so the interview started with the project explanation, where I had to explain my folder structure and the reason for my folder structure. Then he asked me to explain about the package.json file. And he also asked me the difference between package.json and package.lock.json. So this was the basic thing that we started. Then he asked me to show me my backend part, where I basically wrote all my routes and everything. Then he checked for my authentication logic, where he basically asked me the difference between session storage, tokens, cookies, and how to make your like JWT cookies more secure, something like that. Why do we use hashing in password? Like why can't we store the plain password in the database? Which database did you use? Why did you use that database? And for the database, I've used MongoDB Atlas. So it was pretty simple for me to explain my project from the very beginning to the end. Basically, for the front end part, I used a lot of AI to just complete my front end quickly. Backend also I've used AI, but yeah, I just defined the logic at the very first place, and you can basically use it whenever you want, right? But Dockerization was little difficult for me because I was doing it for I believe second or third time only. So when I had to host it on EC2 IP, it was very horrible for me at that point of time, definitely. So in the first half, he basically discussed me about my projects. So we can divide this interview as the first part went for a project explanation that we had did, and then the next part was basically about around Next.js.